Hello, everyone. Welcome to June Leadership Live. We are kicking off the end of Q2. So this one will wrap up our Q2 session. And we have a really good session about accountability, as Jamie and Chandler mentioned yesterday. So kind of moving in, we'll go into our why, and our why is to multiply the blessings and opportunities that have been placed into our trust. And for this year, we've already wrapped up Q1, which was strength, leadership, foundations. Q2, wrapping that up today, enhancing team dynamics. And we have Professor Navi. He's gonna give a little bit more info about himself. He has awesome news he told me before this call. But yeah, he is gonna go into fostering accountability and kind of learning that. And by doing that as well, he has an activity. I passed out a document, a log, a learning log earlier this morning. I'm also putting one right in the chat right now for everyone who is remote. We're happy to download that. I did make it into a PDF fillable. So download that for midway towards our presentation. And for anybody who's missed, any of the Q1s, Q2s, they are on YouTube. They are right there public. So if you want to rewatch those and submit the question at the end, you end up getting participation for those sessions you've missed. And like I said, each quarter we pass out a pin, making a pin for each theme, as well as the end of the year. We do a gift card at the end of the year, as well as a certificate for completion of Leadership Live for 2025. So no other ado, I'll let Professor Navi take over and go to his presentation.
Nice. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for your time and attention today. I really want to say thank you to Rosewood Companies and Campbell University for the opportunity. Today, our topic is on fostering accountability. Our agenda. First, our agenda includes the introduction. I'll just introduce a little bit about myself. We'll clarify some definitions. We'll go into some theories, do our first activity. Then I've got some tools for personal goal tracking, as well as for teams. So we'll share two types of tools. Then we'll do the activity 2, which is the learning log that you all were, if you were in the office today, they passed it out. I think Antonio passed it out to you all. And then we'll move over to takeaways and Q&A. And so, I hope I don't go over time, and I'll do my best to keep it all in I will keep it all in the hour, and I really hope that you all are able to take away something from this today. So just a little bit about myself. My name is Navi Pooni. A lot of people call me Navi. I've been teaching for about 8 or 9 years. I'm a business professor, entrepreneur, and a consultant. So I wear a few hats, but at the core of it all, I'm somebody who's passionate about helping others take ownership of their careers, finances, and futures. I currently teach business courses at Barton College and East Carolina University. I mainly focus on management, entrepreneurship, and real estate investing, as well as international business. I also run my own consulting company, Navi Consultants, LLC, which specializes in real estate, small business strategy, and financial growth. I mentioned earlier, I've been, and this is what Antonio was mentioning about the news, I've been a visiting professor of business at Barton College for the past 4 years, and I've just been promoted to assistant professor, which it's nice. It's a decade in the making, and that's something we're going to talk about today too. Is just when you're accountable, being responsible, and over time, these can really reap exponentially. They can really reap a lot of benefits. So I don't want to get off track. So before this chapter of my life, I spent several years in the banking industry, starting my corporate life at BB&T, which is now Truist, doing financial fraud management. I've worked in sales, operations, and international markets, and I've learned just as much from running gas stations and managing rentals as I have from working in corporate as well as classrooms. So my experience in the classroom and in business and on the ground have really shaped the way that I think about accountability, and I hope it brings a useful perspective today to today's conversation. So I'd like to actually tell you just a little bit more about my personal journey. I'll go through it real fast. I was raised in gas station and convenience stores from a really young age. My childhood wasn't like most others. I spent my time stocking shelves, cleaning floors in terms of sweeping and mopping, bagging groceries, all while my classmates and friends were riding bikes and playing video games. So by the time I turned 15, my entire family had actually left and gone to India, and I was running the at that time it was a gas station convenience store by myself. I was managing by myself, and we had a couple of employees. And so at that time, I knew nothing about management, nothing about financial reporting, HR, customer vendor relationships. I was just a kid trying to survive and keep the business running and from burning down. So I wasn't very happy about that responsibility at the time. It felt forced. All my friends were hanging out, going on trips, enjoying their summers, and I was stuck managing the store. But fast forward to today, and I've realized something really important, and that's most of us experience some form of forced responsibility growing up. Maybe it wasn't running a store, but it was maybe cutting the grass, taking out the trash, watching younger siblings, or just waking up every day to go to school. So we didn't always want to do those things, but we did them because maybe our parents told us to, or because that's just how life works. And that's the foundation of responsibility. It's how we begin to develop accountability. Whether we realize it or not, those early experiences really shape how we show up in our adult lives. They prepare us to be reliable, consistent, and capable of taking ownership. Today, I'm a firm believer that we are each the CEO of our own life. There's nothing more freeing or empowering than stepping into that role. By that, I mean taking full responsibility for your actions, your choices, and your outcomes. And that's why I believe we need to start early when it comes to giving people real responsibility, whether you've got kids, whether it's yourself in the corporate, your management. I think it's very important to start giving responsibility from an earlier, just as almost as soon as you can. And if we really think about it, we all have some form of responsibility, something we've got to stay accountable for, and something that we've got to complete. So even now in your current roles, you're responsible for certain things. As I've mentioned, you may not love every task, but I want you to ask yourself, how does what I do connect to the bigger picture? Does your job help your team hit a deadline, keep a customer happy, deliver a product to market? Just like doing chores keeps a household functioning, your work, the work that you do, keeps your company moving. Responsibility, even when it feels small or inconvenient, plays a part in the greater system. And when you embrace that role, you begin to shift from just doing your job to owning your impact. Now, before we dive any deeper into the strategies and tools for building accountability, I'd like to take a moment to clarify some key definitions. The first one we have is fixed versus growth mindset. Fixed mindset is the belief that abilities and intelligence are concrete and unchangeable. I'm just not good at this. I can't do math. I can't cook. I can't work on a car. And then you've got your growth mindset, which is the belief that abilities can be developed through effort, feedback, and learning. I can improve if I keep trying. One of my favorite ways to and this is a mindset shift. One of my favorite ways to get over this fixed mindset to the growth mindset is adding yet. So, for example, I can't. I'm not the best cooker. I just know how to cook some of your basic stuff. But instead of saying I can't cook, I say I can't cook yet. Because I know that one day, if I ever need to learn how to cook, I can focus and sit down and I can learn, watch a bunch of YouTube videos, talk to my friends, maybe ask my mother to help me learn some of her amazing recipes. This growth mindset. So an easy way to get over it. I can't do marketing yet. I've never done sales yet, but I can learn. I can do it if I try. My mom used to always. This is something that I think of all the time. She used to always say, "Everything is difficult until you do not begin," and I really hold that close. So the next is soft skills versus hard skills. Hard skills are what we can teach in the classroom. By that, I mean your mathematics, data analysis, coding, accounting, things that we can teach you how to make a PowerPoint. We can teach you how to type into Word. Soft skills are things that we cannot teach. These are interpersonal and emotional skills, communication, leadership, adaptability, accountability, kindness. These are measured. This is more measured by, whereas hard skills can be measured by tests or certifications, soft skills are measured by behavior and impact. And soft skills often drive long-term career success more than hard skills. You hear people talk about it all the time. I can't teach you how to be kind. I can't teach you how to be a leader. I can't teach you how to communicate. And that's why soft skills, as we cultivate them, as we go through our lives, this can be more valuable than the hard skills, because hard skills we can learn a little bit later down the road, right? These are things that are teachable. Accountability versus responsibility. Responsibility is task focused, being in charge of doing something. I was assigned to complete this marketing report. Accountability is outcome focused. It's who is held answerable for the results. I own the results, good or bad. I've got to make sure that this marketing report, I'm the one who has got the final decision on if this marketing report is going to be approved or not. I'm accountable for making sure that this marketing report gets completed, it's done right, and it hits the deadline. And finally, ownership versus stewardship. Ownership is taking full initiative and seeing something as mine, to lead or to fix. I will make sure this succeeds. Versus stewardship is acting as a caretaker for something that may not be yours, but still treating it with high respect and integrity. This isn't mine, but I'll protect and improve it as if it were. Great leaders model both, owning outcomes and stewarding their resources. And this really kind of goes back into, being the CEO of your own life. I mean, yes, if you really think about it, you maybe have a job position or a job title at where you're currently working, but you are first and foremost CEO of your own life, and then they contract you to come and do whatever this role is that you do. So now that we've clarified some key definitions, I want to bring this back on track. Now that we've clarified some key definitions, I want to move into a few foundational theories that help explain why we behave the way that we do, especially when it comes to accountability. Why do we hold ourselves accountable in some situations but not in others? What drives us to take ownership in certain areas and avoid it in others? When we begin to understand the psychology behind our actions, we unlock a powerful tool, not just for managing others more effectively, but for managing ourselves. And in my view, this is where it all begins. Because if you can't manage yourself, how can you expect to lead or manage others? If you don't hold yourself accountable, how can you ask others to be accountable? So let's take a look at a few frameworks that help us better understand these dynamics, starting with the ladder of accountability or ladder of responsibility. If you go to the next slide, please. Right here, perfect. So this is the ladder of responsibility. It's a powerful model used in leadership, coaching, and organizational development to help individuals and teams recognize their level of personal responsibility. It outlines a range of behaviors from blame and denial to full ownership and proactive problem solving. Understanding where you and your team sit on this ladder can help drive a shift towards stronger culture of accountability. Each rung represents a mindset or behavior that reflects how somebody responds to problems or challenges. And the goal is to move up the ladder by taking ownership and owning the results. At the very bottom, you see it's unaware, unconscious. This is the person what problem? They're unaware that there's an issue. There's no recognition of any responsibility. Sometimes this can be due to lack of communication, awareness, and or engagement. The second the second rung is blaming others. It's not my fault, it's theirs. The focus is entirely on external causes. We're deflecting responsibility onto colleagues, systems, maybe some circumstances, as well as avoiding introspection or learning. And third is excuses. I couldn't because the person recognizes the problem but justifies inaction. And so they rationalize poor performance due to maybe time, resources, unfair expectations, tough deadlines. This prevents growth or problem solving. The fourth one we've got is wait and hope, and this is the last one under what we call under the threshold here, which is this victim behavior, right? Things happen to you. So wait and hope, maybe this will fix itself. This is where somebody is passive. They do not take any action. Maybe they're reluctant to take the first step or challenge the status quo. They show disengagement or low initiative. These first four rungs, as I mentioned, are below the line. They're often associated with a victim mindset. The individual avoids accountability. The goal is to transition above the line, what we call moving above the line. This is where your personal growth begins. The person shifts from being passive to start to being, they begin to be active, taking more initiative. So from excuse making to solution finding. 5 is acknowledge reality. So here we are above the line now. Acknowledge reality. Yes, there's a problem. They're willing to face the facts and they begin to start to honestly evaluate, okay, this is the problem. Am I responsible or accountable for any part of this? Can I help? Again, they're willing to just kind of face the facts, realize that there's a problem and begin to observe it. And this is what becomes the foundation of responsibility. So this is the next one is they own it, right? This is on me. They accept the personal responsibility, no more blaming, making excuses. They start identifying what they could have done differently as well as what they could do differently now. Next is finding solutions. What can I do to fix this? They actively start to seek answers, alternatives. They try to collaborate, adapt, find solutions, and they begin to show initiative. They demonstrate initiative in order to solve whatever the issue is. And finally is make it happen. Here's how I'll fix it, and I will. This is full accountability. They follow through with the actions, they measure the outcomes, they adjust it, they own the full process, the full deliverable, whatever it may be. And so these top four rungs above the line are associated with what we call an ownership mindset. Leaders and high performers constantly operate here. Why does this matter in leadership and culture? Teams that live below the line tend to stagnate, underperform, and face constant conflict. Teams that operate above the line adapt, innovate, and thrive. Managers can use the ladder to coach employees or assess their own response to challenges. And so now that we've just looked at the ladder of responsibility, which shows how people can move from denial and blame to full accountability, but to really understand why people struggle to climb that ladder or what helps them rise, I want to dig deeper into the psychology behind ownership, and which leads us to the theory of psychological ownership. So you see it's got 5 right here: sense of responsibility, identity, accountability, self-efficacy, and belongingness. So that responsibility, this is mine to take care of. It reflects a person's willingness to be held accountable. They feel morally or ethically compelled to act. I see that there's something that I can do to help. I'm going to go help. When present, people step up without being asked. And as a leadership tip, we can empower team members with trust and decision-making authority. We find, as we mentioned earlier, starting early, giving more responsibility, a little bit more autonomy, and kind of in beginning to see, does the person thrive when they've got more responsibility and autonomy or not? Next is sense of identity. This reflects who I am. This is a deep emotional connection. The project or role becomes part of somebody's self-concept. We start to see when people begin to say my company, my team, my classroom, my responsibility, they're really owning, it becomes a part of their identity. A way that we can cultivate this is by trying to align personal values of our employees with the organization's, the purpose of the organization. Third is sense of accountability. I am answerable for this. This goes beyond obligation. It's about owning the outcomes, not just the tasks. So when present, people track progress, they follow up, they take corrective action without blaming others. A good way to cultivate this even more further is by recognizing progress, not just results, and reinforcing this type of feedback culture where we're providing praise, we're providing feedback, critical feedback, as well as recognizing the smaller milestones and not just, as well as the larger milestone. 4, I have the ability to make an impact. I believe in a belief in one's own competence to achieve goals or solve problems. People are confident, they take initiative. And so a good way to cultivate this is by providing skill development, autonomy, right? Autonomy, responsibility, starting early. And then by celebrating small wins in order to help build confidence for the employees. And finally, the sense of belongingness. I'm part of something meaningful. People feel safe, accepted, connected to others. And this is something, ownership doesn't just exist in a vacuum. It's influenced by how well our basic human needs are met. When we're taking a look at these five things, we start to see a lot of similarities. There's something that we talk about in principles of management, which is job rotation, enrichment, and enlargement. It's allowing employees to find different types of skill. Maybe they can move from maybe this week or this month they were in the marketing department. Now we're going to move them to the sales department for Q3, just to let them kind of see, okay, what's going on in the sales department? How do these smaller a lot of times people will take sales and marketing and operations and finance and they view them as separate things, but they are all a smaller subset of this larger umbrella that is the larger business. Excuse me. And so we talk about enrichment, enlargement, and rotation in class because it's very important to give, and I know I keep mentioning the word autonomy, but continuously give more autonomy, more responsibility, allow employees to cultivate not only the skills that they currently have, but also to develop new skills. And so we see this in Maslow's hierarchy of needs as well, right? If somebody's struggling with safety, security, belonging, it's hard to expect them to wake up and take full ownership or responsibility. Understanding where a person is on this needs pyramid helps us lead and support them more effectively. And Tony, if you could please go to the next slide for me. So Maslow depicted human needs as a pyramid with each level building upon the one below. And so a person typically will not focus on a higher level need until one of the lower level ones have been reasonably met. So the first one, which is the base of the pyramid. This is your basic survival needs: food, water, shelter, sleep, and air. If they aren't met, everything else becomes secondary. This is something we also talk about in the classroom a lot. If we any reason ever were to get into a large water crisis, or people who lost their jobs at scale and didn't know where, or if we had a food crisis, we would stop. We would stop playing sports. We'd stop maybe going to school, as you see in third world countries, and we would have to focus on these basic needs. Only because we are living in a country where our basic needs are met do we have the privilege of moving up this ladder and looking at safety and security, love and belonging, self-esteem. And so, a perfect example of a hungry employee, somebody who's not able to maybe feed themselves all the time and get sufficient shelter, food, water, very unlikely they're going to focus on performance metrics for the company. Second is your safety needs. This is your security, stability, protection from harm. This is your physical safety from violence, from accidents, financial security, your health security, and job stability. Love and belongingness. This is your social needs like friendship, intimacy, family, sense of connection. In a workplace, we've got inclusion, mentorship. You've got your work camaraderie, positive culture. This also matters a lot here. And another example would be people who feel isolated or excluded struggle with engagement and morale. We see that often in corporate America, and I see it at where I'm teaching at Barton College often. The people that are not engaging with their colleagues and talking more, they tend to feel a little bit more isolated, or maybe that people don't agree with them. Or they don't tend to share their mind as much, which I feel like we end up losing value from for example, with this other professor who's brilliant, bright, but because they're isolated, we don't get a chance to really get a deep dive into what they're thinking, how they're feeling about the institution, the students. Excuse me. I think it's very important to recognize the people that are isolated and try to get them to engage or bring them in however you can. 4 is your esteem needs: self-respect, achievement, recognition, and respect from others. This includes both internal confidence and external validation. Example, titles, awards, praise. This can motivate, but so can skill mastery and independence, autonomy. And then finally, the top of the pyramid. This is realizing one's full potential, becoming everything you're capable of being. This involves being creative, your personal growth, finding purpose, meaningful contribution in your life. A teacher who mentors, innovates, finds personal meaning in their impact, they could possibly believe that they are on the top level of this pyramid. Now, I am one of those believers. I believe that once you even have the privilege or the blessing to enter into this top level of the pyramid, we stay at the growth mindset tells us that we never fully achieve self-actualization. We can always get better, always learn more, continue. We can constantly be growing even more. And so there are people that debate, do we ever actually achieve full self-actualization or not? And so to take it a step further, we can use what we call the SCARF model, which focuses on the social and emotional triggers that shape our motivation and performance at work. SCARF stands for status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness, which are 5 key domains that affect how we respond to situations, take initiative, and embrace accountability. The SCARF model. It's a neuroscience-based framework developed by David Rock, explains 5 key social drivers. So again, as I mentioned, it stands for status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. These 5 domains affect how we react positively or negatively in social and work environments. Our brain perceives threats or rewards in these areas the same way they process physical dangers or pleasures. Status. How am I valued compared to others? This is our relative importance or rank in a group amongst our colleagues. Recognition, praise, promotions. This is what brings out the reward response. What brings out the threat response would be being ignored, criticized, compared negatively, demoted. Talked about, right? People talking about your back. This also does the same thing. So a good way to cultivate the positive rewards, give credit publicly, allow people to lead initiatives and avoid micromanaging. Certainty, do I know what's going to happen? Our need for clarity and predictability, clear expectations, roadmaps, consistent communication. This is what brings out the reward response, and what brings out the threat response would be frequent changes, unclear feedback, and uncertainty. Leadership tip, communicate early and often, set clear goals, and outline next steps. Autonomy, do I have control over what I do? The sense of control over decisions and actions. So what brings out the reward response would be choices, flexibility, trust. Threat response, micromanagement, lack of input, forced decisions. 4, do I feel safe and connected with others? Definition, the sense of belonging and trust with others. What brings out the reward? Team bonding, shared goals, vulnerability based on trust. And threat response would be isolation and poor team dynamics. This can be how can we cultivate the reward response? We foster more collaboration, encourage more open dialogue, and celebrate team wins. And finally, fairness. Is this environment just and ethical? Excuse me. Perception that rules, rewards, and expectations are applied equally. The reward response, transparent policies, equitable opportunities, consistent treatment. Threat response, favoritism, hidden agendas, inconsistent discipline. Be transparent in order to cultivate this reward response, be more transparent with decision making, explain reasoning, and apply rules evenly. The SCARF model matters in leadership due to motivation, right? Understanding SCARF helps leaders motivate without relying solely on money. Conflict resolution, it helps explain why somebody is upset or disengaged. Often it's not about the task, but about a SCARF domain being threatened. And then team performance, enhancing SCARF elements increases trust, innovation, and productivity. Each of these theories build on the last, helping us create a more complete picture of what it takes to foster accountability, not just through expectations, but through empathy, and insights. Before we move on, I want to pause for a moment and make this a little bit more interactive. If we could move over to the next slide, which is the interactive assignment 1, please. Right here. I just want you to take about 30 seconds for a quick internal reflection. I want you to take a look at this ladder of responsibility and really just take a moment to ask yourself, where are you on the ladder of the responsibility right now, a ladder of responsibility right now in your work, in your personal life, or any specific situation? It's up to you. Why are you there? Is there a particular reason that is where on the ladder that you are? And in a second, we'll actually go back to this slide so you can see the ladder responsibility again. Do you want to move higher up the ladder? If so, what's one thing that you could do to start that shift of moving higher up that ladder? And so, Antonio, if you could actually go back to the ladder. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Just take a few seconds. It wasn't until I was in graduate school that I started to, I first learned about the concepts of fixed versus growth mindset. And so, I mean, I really am a big believer that there are solutions for everything out there. There's no problem that is void of a solution. And so there was a good time in my life that I was also below, right? The victim behavior is this kind of below in the victim mindset. Me and my sisters talked about this often as well. Everything's got a solution. And it's liberating, really, if you think about it. It's liberating to be the CEO of your own life, or to be accountable for your own life. There's a book out there I mentioned to your management team. It's called Move Your Bus. It talks about the different people that are riding along the bus, right? The driver, the person who's sitting in the very back, maybe the person who's in the front, the person who's speaking loudly, the person who's not speaking at all. It's a very liberating feeling to take accountability of your own life. So anyway, sorry, I want you guys to be able to take a few seconds of uninterrupted time to think about this. We'll take about 15 more seconds. Would anybody like to share? I would love to hear somebody who would like to share where they feel that they are on this ladder, why, and if they'd like to move up, and kind of something they could do to move up the ladder.
I can go ahead. I think I'm in the embrace it part of the ladder, just because with AI and how much AI has changed. I remember hearing about AI back in or ChatGPT back in 2000, before COVID. I think Nate Haggerty, he used to be our president of IDS. He was using it, and he mentioned it to me one time back in 2020, 2021, and I remember where it was at. ChatGPT wasn't that great, but I remember where it was at, and now how it's evolved, and how AI and all these. I'm in social media, so I follow and see all these ads and all these companies using it, and the way it's evolving, the way they're able to use it. And I see people saying, "Oh, AI is not great. It can't provide me a photo yet. It's got 6 fingers. It's doing this. It's doing this." But the way I is learning, and the way Chandler explained it, where like I think it was like 3 months is like a year of AI developing itself. So if we keep waiting and hoping it go away, or somehow makes it easier, that it's just going to become harder and harder and harder to catch it. And so just trying to embrace it and trying to learn as much as I can. And so just kind of moving up the ladder, finding solutions, just reading a lot more about AI, taking a lot more courses, and just trying to figure out how you can use it as a tool and put it in your back pocket for your workflow and your just everyday life.
I thank you so much for sharing. I don't believe that AI will take your job. I believe that the people who know how to use AI will take your job. And just going along, not your job specifically, but where you hear all the time, AI will take her job, AI will replace you. I really think that it's at its fusion of the manager who knows how to effectively and efficiently use AI to even to quicker solve problems, right? To be able to source data faster, organize it, and then use that data to solve problems. Thank you so much for sharing. Anybody else? I saw that we had somebody in the chat who mentioned find solutions. Yep, David, thank you so much. Well, good. Thank you all. Thank you to everybody who reflected and shared. Recognizing where you are on the ladder of responsibility is the first step. And now what I want to talk about now is how actually to move up the ladder in real life. So whether it's at work or in your personal life, staying accountable requires more than just intention. It requires tools. And so here are a few simple but powerful apps and systems you can use to track your own growth and stay consistent. Now, we don't have the time to go to each one of these websites and show you all how to use it, but I really think that it could help just, after you're done with this, after we're done with this call, and when you've got a little bit of free time, go to these websites, see if, just try it, see if any one of these can help you. I'm a big proponent of journaling. So when we get to the learning log, the second interactive assignment, you'll see, I really am a big believer. I also learned this in grad school, had a good entrepreneurship professor who really encouraged us to get a paper journal. Don't do it on your phone, something that you've got to handwrite with a pen or pencil. You can keep it with you. It's personal. It's not connected to a cloud or anything, and something that you can engage with. And he would have us engage with things that we learned. What did you learn today? What was an idea that struck out? What was something that happened that caused an emotional response? So then you write it down. What was the time? What was the date? Where was I? Was there anybody around me? Why was I there? What was the idea or what happened that invoked this emotional response? How do I feel about it now? Did I learn anything from it? And again, this was a habit that started back when I was in grad school. Here I am 12 years later, and I still keep up with the journal. It's very nice to be able to go back, 3 years, 4 years ago, and realize, wow, the things that I was worried about back then, it worked itself out, and I was able to figure it out. And journaling, if you ever go online and you're looking at YouTube videos, or you type in how to get rich or how to be successful or how to be successful, let's go with that one. Something that I see often is that people will say, thinking is one thing, but actually writing it down, it's a whole different thing. So it helps you manifest in a different way. So let's talk about the tools first, and I'm sure, I think towards the end, I'll recap, or I'll mention that one more time. We've got four tools that I want to share today. The first one is Coach.me. This is a habit building app where you can set goals. If you could go to the next slide, please, Antonio. So what these next four slides are, they're just screenshots of kind of what the website looks like. And so, for example, Coach.me, a habit building app where you can set goals, track progress, and even hire a personal coach for accountability. It turns intentions into actions with small daily check-ins. Habit Share is a social habit, it's a social media, basically. It's a habit tracker that lets you share your goals with friends, coworkers, or accountability partners. So when somebody else can see your progress, you're more likely to follow through. Maybe you have a friend who you and him are both supposed to be going to the gym at least 5 times a week, and he'll see that you didn't go to the gym, and so then he gives you a call and says, "Hey, I saw that you didn't do what you were supposed to do." FocusMate, a virtual co-working tool that pairs you with a live partner for distraction-free work sessions. It's especially helpful if you struggle with focus or procrastination. And Tony, if you could just please go to the next slide for me. And then this is the habit share right here. And then if you just go one more for me. This is FocusMate. And so again, FocusMate is this virtual co-working space, pairs you with other people that are trying to complete tasks, but they want somebody who's virtually there, being accountable for them. And essentially, you're holding each other accountable through a virtual co-working space. Maybe it's 2 hours and you're trying to maybe complete a paper or finish a report or whatever it may be. And then learning logs. This is something, again, that I think should be taken with a journal, right? So maybe if you have a journal, you fill out a learning log and you take it, and you maybe, I like to tape things into my journal if I ever have something like that. A learning log is a reflective journaling method where you write down what you did, what you learned, and what you'll improve. It keeps you honest with yourself, gives you a clear picture of your growth over time. Excuse me. And so now, while personal tools help you stay on track, accountability doesn't stop at the individual level. In any workplace, real impact happens when teams are aligned and progress is visible. And so that's where team accountability tools come in. So I want to take a look at a few popular platforms that help track tasks, improve communication, and ensure shared ownership across teams. And so if you could just move one more slide for me, please. Right here. This is a screenshot of what Asana looks like. If you could see my cursor moving right there where it says name, this is where you would put, right, for example, determine project goal. One time I was using this for getting a social media presence. So I had, okay, all these different projects. The main project, social media presence. I had to do it on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, LinkedIn. And so at the time I had a team. If you look right here in the middle, it says assignee and due date. I had all my team integrated in Asana. This is a free thing that I was using at the time. And I would, so, okay, if the first one says TikTok, I would make the assignee me. And then the second one says Instagram, I would sign it to somebody else that was working for the company at the time. And then we've got due dates. And so this was a clear way to see, okay, what is the total, the whole project that we're working on here. I put test project. What are the individual objectives in order to complete that project? And who are the people that are responsible for each individual task? And when is the due date? And then, of course, you can add any notes. And this was if you look at the top, you can see, you can view it as a list, a board, a timeline, dashboard. This is a very nice free tool that I enjoyed back when we were doing a little bit more. We were doing more projects. We were doing larger scale. Now we've moved over to a different, more of an intranet, which I'll speak about in a second. If you could go to the next slide, please, which is Trello. Trello is a app platform that uses virtual boards and lists to organize projects and workflows. It's great for teams that like a simple visual way to move tasks from to do to done. Again, Asana also does the same thing in that sense, but I like that Trello, in my opinion, has an easier user interface, easier to understand, and more simple, which again, some people may like that. I'm a huge believer of an intranet, a digital workspace that centralizes chat, file sharing, task coordination, and announcement. And so from my understanding, you all are already using Microsoft Teams, Dropbox. I think the more steps you can take to condense, consolidate all these different types of tools and just focus on one main intranet where everything is there, easy to access. If you go to the next slide for me, please, Antonio. I'm sorry. We'll come back to this matrix. If you go back or go forward again, right here, the intranet. You see access as one of those points. It needs to be easy to access from the phone, from the laptop, from your work computer or somewhere in work. Be able to collaborate, store data, communicate, network with each other, and just have a central place for information. From my understanding, you all already do a great job with that. And then I've also got weekly check-ins up there, a simple practice where teams just meet regularly. They meet to share wins. Maybe they meet weekly to share wins, discuss blockers, set clear intentions. This is up to management and the individual. Would you rather do it in a team setting, or would you rather do it on a one-on-one setting? Really is up to you all. But at the very least, management can take that step to where we are going to, by having these weekly meetings, you are in a sense holding this person accountable. You're holding your employee accountable. This is sort of like a catalyst which begins this process. Believe in weekly check-ins. And then, Antonio, if you could please go back to the matrix, the RACI matrix. Perfect, right here. This is the matrix, and I highly encourage you all to maybe go online and type in, give an example of the matrix, or you can even have AI, as Antonio mentioned earlier. You can have AI pull up a few examples for you. This is a great way to be very clear on who's responsible for getting the work done, who's accountable, who oversees the task, what are the subject matter experts that need to be consulted in order to complete the task, and who needs to stay informed on the progress of the task. It's a project management and accountability tool to clarify roles and responsibilities. Excuse me. Great way to, here's an example. So for responsible, the marketing associate who drafts the social media plan. Accountable, the marketing director who approves and signs off on the campaign. Consult, the legal team consulted for compliance before publishing. And then informed, the sales team were informed of when the campaign launch date was going to be. Why use the matrix? It clarifies who does what, reduces confusion and finger pointing, and increases efficiency and alignment. So now that we've talked about some of these tools, and again, it was a very quick overview, and I know we're getting close to the end of time. I really encourage you all, when you have free time outside of work. Yeah, I'm just looking at Dr. Fubara said these free tools might be particularly helpful outside of work, PTA, family reunion, church, etc. Absolutely. I'm a huge believer that you cannot manage others. You cannot be accountable for others unless you are able to manage and be accountable for yourself. And you'll hear me mention that one more time. I would say let's go ahead and move on. Antonio, if you could please go to the interactive assignment number 2. We're almost out of time. This is a learning log. So you should all have a copy of this log in front of you. On the left-hand side, you'll see a section titled What I Learned. This is where you're going to write down key insight, big idea from today's session, or is this something that stuck with you, shifted your perspective? Doesn't have to be from today's session. It could be from something that happened yesterday or something that happened this morning before the session started. And then on the right-hand side, I want you to write down what your reaction was, right? Excuse me, go a little deeper. How did it make you feel? What connections did it spark? Who or what gave you the idea? Was it something that I said, something that your spouse said, a peer said, your manager said? Was it a tool that maybe you saw the tool and you're like, wow, this really makes me think of this, X, Y, Z. Write down today's date and time. I really am a big believer of that. As you go back in your journal, you're going to want to know that, oh yeah, when I was writing this down and feeling this way, this was 3 years ago, or this was, and I always write down, I like to write down what has been happening, right? Oh, so maybe yesterday I went to go visit my parents and I helped my mom build her raised garden bed out back. Which is something I did a few days ago, so that's why it comes up off the top of my head. This really helps me to also give context when I'm going back and just through my journals, and wow, I remember this time, this is what was going on. I really was worried about this problem and I found this solution. And sometimes I work out the solutions in the journal. So please take a minute or two to reflect and jot your thoughts down. If you're comfortable, I may ask a few of you to share, but please just remember, write down today's date and time. And this is on the reaction side. How did it make you feel? What connections did it spark? Who gave you the idea? What gave you the idea? And on the left-hand side, you're just going to put what you learned, right? This is where you'll write down your key insight or any big idea that you've had, anything that you've learned.
And for those who are remote, there's also a version online or on the chat.
Oh, Tony mentioned this
version document.
Perfect. If you could go back to that slide as well that shows the learning log and just zoom in a little bit, just so people have got an idea of what it looks like. Right here. If you could just zoom in a little bit, just to the top. Perfect. Left side, what I learned, main ideas, key details. My reaction, right side, thoughts, questions, connections. We're just going to take one more minute because at 10:50, I'd like to go ahead and move on. Is there anybody that would like to go ahead and share? We've got about 10 minutes left, so I want to go ahead.
I learned that Trello can be used personally, so thank you for that.
Thank you so much for sharing. I was a big user of Asana, so even as I was researching a little bit more on the topic of accountability and what tools could we talk about and use, that was my first time seeing Trello as well, and so I really liked it because I'm less of a fan of Asana's user interface than I am Trello. I think I like the bright kind of simple user interface more than I do something a little bit more complex. And I find that any employees that I hire or that are working with me, whether it's somebody I'm contracting that's working for the company, um, you've just got to keep it as simple as possible. As simple as possible. As I say, keep it so simple that your grandma could understand it. And my grandma is from India. She does not speak English at all. And so in my belief, you've got to get it very, very simple. So pictures and all of it. Thank you for sharing. So let's go ahead and move on just for the sake of time. I really appreciate you all doing that. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm a very big proponent of journaling. And I really believe that we should all keep a paper journal, something personal, offline, where we can engage with our thoughts and feelings freely. Thinking something is one thing, but writing it down is an entirely different level of manifestation. And you see that advice, you hear that advice a lot when, again, if you're looking online. And I used to do this a lot when I was in college. I didn't have a good mentor. I didn't really have anybody that was teaching me how to invest or run my own business or anything. And so I would always look up videos and articles, how to be rich, how to be successful, how to get passive income, how to start a business, and a lot of things that I saw a lot of successful people. I'm sorry, what I saw a lot of successful people say was that writing it down really is half the battle in terms of manifestation. So it brings clarity, intention, and accountability into your life in a very real way. So with that in mind, I want to leave you with a few key takeaways from today's session. And so ideas that I hope that you'll carry with you, maybe even revisit in your own journal. And again, I really appreciate everybody's time. So as we wrap up here, I really want to go through these few key takeaways, and I'll be quick because I want to move on to Q&A. Start early. Responsibility builds trust over time. The earlier it starts, the more natural it becomes. Forced responsibility becomes expected reality. What feels like a burden now may become your strength later. It's hard to realize in that moment what you're learning and what you're getting out of it and the value that you're getting out of it when something feels forced to you. Being the driver of your own life is liberating. Ask yourself, would you rather be accountable for your own life and business or have somebody else in control? Self-management is essential. You cannot lead or support others effectively until you've learned to manage yourself. I repeat this all the time. A manager themselves unmanaged cannot manage others effectively and efficiently. And management, the definition of management is to efficiently and effectively allocate resources. So if you want to be accountable for others, if you want to manage others, you need to start with yourself. And tools reinforce intention. The right systems help turn goals into daily action and growth into lasting habits. Very important to find tools in an environment that is not giving you a lot of resistance. It's something that actually helps, what we call not fighting an uphill battle, right? Kind of moving with the flow a little easier. So anyways, these are my 5 key takeaways. I really, really appreciate everybody's time, energy, and attention today. I really hope that something here resonated with you, whether it was a mindset shift or a new tool, or just a reminder that accountability starts from within, right? Accountability and management starts from us. So at this point, I'd love to open it up for questions, thoughts, reflections, whether it's about anything that we covered or just something that you saw that kind of stuck with you. Thank you all.
I really enjoyed the aspect in the learning log of thinking about the connections. I think that I've done a lot of different kinds of journaling before, but actually thinking about making those connections is an extra step that I really like because it actually moves towards some of that growth mindset and systems thinking. If you actually think about what you learned and then actually trying to apply it. So really did appreciate that from the learning log.
Oh, thank you as well. The same professor that taught me about fixed versus growth mindset, he used to compare humans to an onion, and he would say, when you're journaling is something that's helping you peel back your own onion about yourself. There's reasons that make us wake up and go to work or do these things, whatever we're responsible for, or hold accountability, and it's something that's beyond maybe our job title or our paycheck or things of that nature. Maybe it's something that we want. Maybe we've got kids. Maybe we want to take care of our parents. I mean, there's so many different things that right? I wouldn't know that, but you would know that. And if you don't, I encourage you to continue journaling because that is part of peeling back this onion about yourself. This onion, your onion. And so then you begin to start to learn, okay, I really care about this. And I think this is something that gives me motivation. It really has helped me tremendously throughout my life, the past 10, 12 years.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Navi, and thank you for everyone who participated for the June Leadership Live. Like I said, we wrapped up Q2, so if you are missing any in Q2, please rewatch those Q2 videos and send it over to us. And Professor Navi, thank you again, and congrats on your promotion at Barton College. Excited for you, and it was really good connecting with you the last couple of days and speaking before the meeting. So thank you everyone for joining. If you guys need anything, just reach out to us. If you have any questions later on, feel free to email them over to marketing or ask for Professor Navi's email, and I'll send it over so you guys can reach out to him directly. But thank you, everyone.
Thank you all so much.